Okay, good morning, friends. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Habayim. We are continuing in Mishnah Berura, Daf HaShavua. Simin Kuf Mem Aleph, Seif Ches. Kuf Mem Aleph, Seif Ches. Kol Teva Shehi Kri, Ksiv. Any word which is read and written, halacha l'Moshe miSinai, shetehei nechteves k'moi shehi b'Torah. It is halacha l'Moshe miSinai that it should be written the way it is in the Torah, v'nikreis b'inyanach, and read differently. Kri Ksiv. Umaisa be'echad shekara k'moi shiksuv b'fnei gedolei hadar. There's a story. Now, I don't know many stories in Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch was not a storybook, if you didn't get that point by now. But I don't think he says many stories. But here's one. There's a story by someone who read the way it's written before the Gedolim. Who were they? Harabanim Rabbi Yitzchak Abuhav. Rabbi Yitzchak Abuhav, I think, was from the Chachmei Tzfas. I think there's a shul in Tzfas, the Abuhav shul. The Harab Rab Avram Valansi, the Harab Shmuel Valansi Benoizal. The Hisrubai. They warned him. Sheyikra b'fi ha'Mesorah. V'loi ratza. He didn't listen to these great rabbis. V'nidu. They put him in Cherem. V'hiridu me'ateva. And they removed him from the bima. It's interesting that of all the things in the Shulchan Aruch, the one that is substantiated by a story is the guy who had the audacity to read as it's written. You know, I guess the greatest, here's my, knee-jerk reaction to this. We know, as we mentioned many times, whenever we're dealing with the Sefer Torah, we're always very sensitive that people don't just accept the written law and reject the oral law. And one of the greatest areas of sensitivity is what we call Ksiv, because this is what it says, and we're saying, no, we're not reading what it says, we're reading the halacha l'Moshe miSinai. So this is the very point, this is, the point of contention. If you want to know, where is the spot that you could really test your loyalty to the Torah Sheba'al Peh, even in the face of Torah Shebachsav, I would say it has to be Ksiv, because here you're reading it in the Sefer Torah. The Sefer Torah is in front of you. You say, no. Not what it says, what Hashem told Moshe. So that's why they had to put the guy in Cherem, and they had to remove him, and that's why the Shulchan Aruch, it wasn't enough just to say, don't do this. He's giving you the drama here, of the importance of this inyan. Anyway, Kifi HaMesorah, Roitz Aloymar, HaKabbalah Shekibalna L'Kroisa, the tradition that we accepted to read. V'lo Yazlina Basar Ksiva, we don't follow the Ksiva. Denikra Mesoras Ba'alma. The Ksiva is Yesh Aim L'Mesoras. The Kriya is Yesh Aim L'Mikra. I think there are different ways in the Rishonim how to interpret the words Yesh Aim L'Mikra, Yesh Aim L'Mesoras. The way the Mishnah Berura is interpreting it, that, in other words, we read it Lefi the Mesorah, the Kabbalah Shekibana L'Kroisa, we don't follow the Ksiva, which is called Mesoras Ba'alma, Aim L'Mesoras. V'leka misham Isser L'Krois B'Torah afilu. Now the Mishnah Berura has a kasha. How are you allowed to do Ksiv, but Asr L'Krois B'Torah afilu Oisacha Shloi Min HaKsav? You're not allowed to read something if it doesn't say it. And here it says Tchayrim, and you read it a different word. I mean, this week's parsha is full of Ksivs, I believe. There are a lot of stuff going on with the Ksiv. But The Shani Hacha, Shekachi Halacha Moshe Sinai. Halacha L'Moshe Sinai is, even though ordinarily it's Aser Likrois, Afilo Oisacha, Shaloi Min Aksav, this you are allowed to read Shaloi Min Aksav. Here's an interesting thing to... Oh, this is very interesting. Okay, first of all, this week's Parsha. What if wax drips on a word, so then you can't read that Sefer Torah, because now you're reading it Shaloi Min Aksav. But what if wax drips on a word that's a Ksiv, so you're not reading it anyway? So the Dirshu brings from the Shevet HaLevi that wax that dripped on the word Yishgalena. So the Pri Megadim says not a problem, because we read it Baal Peh. Says the Shevet HaLevi, that's only on Shabbos, that Efshar Lahasar Shaiba. But even the Pri Megadim is Moideh that you still need to look at the word that's written. The kula of the Pri Megadim, that if wax drips on Yishgalena, you can read it, that's only because it's Shabbos and you can't remove it. Reb Moshe disagrees entirely. He says if wax drips on a letter, even on Shabbos, you have to take out another Sefer Torah. That's ad kedei kach. The din of Ksiv is you still need to look at the word that's written in the Sefer Torah. Okay?
According to the one that you could read it, but that's only on the Gimel Lam, not like you feel them the hay, to read it. Not that it's just on the whole word, or the middle of the word.
You think it's only
That's true or not?
It says on the word. It says on the word. You're saying only the two letters are Ksiv? You're saying the din of Ksiv is only on the letters? Okay, I didn't think about that. I'm not sure. Maybe you're right. Maybe. I want to bring something very important to your attention. What about the name of Hashem? It's written Yud Kei Vav Kei, but you don't read it that way. Is that a Ksiv? Is that a Ksiv? The Rambam has a suffix whether we know the halacha is that if somebody curses the name of Hashem, you need to curse the Shem Havaya with one of the Sheva Shemoi She'enam Nimchakim. But what if you don't curse the Shem Havaya? What if instead you curse the Shem Adnos? Does that work? So the Brisker Rav says that the suffix of the Rambam is, how do you look at the Shem Havaya written in the Sefer Torah? Is it a Ksiv, and therefore the Shem Adnos is a totally different word? Or no, and this is the conclusion, that we don't, even though we're discussing Ksiv, the name of Hashem is not a Ksiv. The way to read the words Yud and then Hey and then Vav and Hey is it's read Aleph Daled Nun Yud. In other words, it's not a Ksiv, it's our tradition that that's what those letters are saying. Okay? And the conclusion is it is not a Ksiv. The Shem Havaya, the way it's Ksiv Havaya, V'nikreis Adnos, it's not a Ksiv.
So you have to look inside when you have to look at the letters you came up to.
Oh, you for sure. Even we're learning now. You even need to do it by a Ksiv, right? Even by a Ksiv. But yeah, it would absolutely be ma'akev. In other words, it would be ma'akev to say Hashem's name, not from inside. Now, also he brings from the Shari Ephraim that even though the Ksiv you're reading it Baal Peh, tzarech sheyira es hateva haksuva b'sefer b'shas kriyasa kfi ha'mesorah. However, the Perush on the Shari Ephraim says the Makar is from the Shem Havaya, which definitely you need to be looking in the Sefer Torah, which the Brisker Rav would say that's not a Raya. You can't bring a Raya from the Shem Havaya, because Shem Havaya is not a Ksiv. Okay, the Dirshu brings a lot of material on how to pronounce the word Yud, Sin, Chaf, Reish. And although the Chassam Sofer held in his Perish Al HaTorah, the first time you pronounce it Yisas Char, to show that's his name, and after that Yisachar, the Mincha Shai says you should say Yisachar every time. The Rav Moshe says, he brings from the Masaras Moshe, not like the Mincha Shai, that you should read it the first time with 2 sins. Usually the Mincha Shai is the final word on word pronunciation. Okay, we're going to begin Siman Kuf Membeis. Din Mishakar V'Tav V'Makim She'en Sham Mish Yadei Likros B'Diyak. Let's say somebody read and made a mistake, and what do you do in a place where nobody knows how to read accurately? Says the Mechaber, Kara V'Ta'a Afilu B'Dikduk Ois Achas Machzir Noisai. If the Baal Koreh read and he made a mistake, even in being accurate in one letter, you have to go back. What does that mean? Let's say he missed or added one letter. Now, by the way, the Kafachayim and the Makar Chayim, they understand that the Mechaber holds that even if it's loy nishtane ha'inyan, you have to go back. So let's say somebody says, Vayomer Moshe el Aaron. Aaron, what happened to the hay? So according to Mechaber, you have to go back. What do you mean? Loy nishtane, we know who the guy is. We know who he is. When he went into the store to get a cup of coffee, they called him Aaron. So they didn't say the hay. According to the Mechaber, Machzir Noisai. According to the Ramah, Ein Machzir Noisai. The Ramah seems to hold that the Mechaber holds Ein Machzir Noisai. There's a Machlokes Kafachayim, Makar Chaim versus the Ramah. What does the Mechaber hold? But there are those who grip the Mechaber that this would be even b'makom she'ein mishtana inyan. What does it mean, Machzir Noisai? Says the Mishmur Shekrena B'Diktuk, that you should read it accurately. V'hainu bein shuhu kshu oimer adam pasuk zeh bein shuhu gamar parsha. That means even if you already finished the parsha, you'd have to go back. V'afilu beirach lachrei anami. Even if you already made a bracha, you have to go back and say, no, the name is Aharon. Even though the guy already made the bracha. Or let's say the guy says, Moira Shah Kilas Yankiv. Okay, it's nice, his name is Yankiv, but there's no nun in the name. So the fact that in Lita they've been, saying a nun, that's very nice, good for them, but now we have to learn the Torah. So even though we already made a bracha and we put it in the Arayin, we take it back, according to Mechaber, we take it out and we read it again. So we have to go to that pasuk. You have to read from there and on to the end of the parsha. You have to read that pasuk until the end of the parsha, and then another 3 for the new aliyah. Okay, so what do you do with various havarais? Let's see what the Dershu brings. The Stipler said, for sure, b'di'evet, you're for sure Yotzei, b'di'evet. B'di'evet, you're for sure Yotzei, which means l'chadchila, you can't put up a guy if he's not your havara. L'chadchila, so in other words, you want to know, which show should I daven in? Let's say, I'm not a Sfardi, or I'm not Hasidish, and I could go to my Havara or a different Havara. L'chadchila, you should not go to a different Havara. But b'diavad, b'vada yoitzim, whether Ashkenazis, whether Sfardis, and Rav Moshe also says that b'diavad you're yoitze. They are not considered a different language. However, the Brisker Rav held it is considered a different language. I believe Reb Tzvi Pesach Frank also held that way, that it also is considered a different language, so it would not be okay even b'diavad. So let's say you have a bar mitzvah boy and he grew up in a school where they do, Baruch Atah Hashem, and what do? I don't know. I don't envy that rabbi. That's not, what are you going to do in that case? Or what let's say you have a Hasidish guy in your shul, the kid's being bar mitzvah. What do? I guess you rely on Rav Moshe, that b'diavad you're yotzei. But l'chadchila, you should try to hear it in your own havara. Okay, have a good day. But don't go anywhere.